All right, we got video number 2 for Saturday. We got a double header, somewhat, at least DFS slate wise. We got the Truck Series over at Gateway or Worldwide Technology Center, whatever you want to call it. And we have the Xfinity Series over at Portland, which is a road course. And there might be some rain potentially in the radar as well. So we'll jump into it. We'll dive into it. If you're watching in this morning, just know the Truck Series I think races at like 1:30 or something like that Eastern time. So if you haven't made a line for that, check out our video over there, and hopefully you can make a line before that one locks. But if you have already watched that video and you're just like, hey man, give me the Xfinity Series picks, let's dive into it. So like I just mentioned, this is the different track than the Cup Series and the Truck Series are at. It's a road course. It's 75 laps. Because it's a different track, one thing to keep in mind is this is a weekend we have those frozen pit stops. So, NASCAR wasn't able to send out, other crew members basically to have competitive pit stops. So the only way you can gain positions is actually on the track. When you do come into pit road, the field's going to be frozen. You're going to see all the cars pull in their box, just sit there, you wait till everyone's in their box, and then very slowly people will kind of work on their cars. And it's not going to be very exciting when they're on pit road, but just keep that in mind. Pit road more or less doesn't really matter from like a passing standpoint. It's going to be a little bit different if you're watching on TV. Because of it's a road course, because it's a track that the Xfinity Series really hasn't been at a whole ton, because Mother Nature might be raining, you really want to focus a lot on place differential for this slate. And there's really not that many laps, there's not really that many dominator points available up for grabs either. So as far as like lineup construction goes, it's really, and, probably, finishing potential as well. So you really just want to focus on maybe one guy who's going to be out front leading laps, maybe two. And then it's more just like, okay, who do I think has positive place differential points, or who's a driver who I feel confident can just easily finish top 10. And those are really the drivers we want to just focus on for this slate. So who are some of those drivers? Well, let's look at it. So Gibbs and Allmendinger. I mean, you can't really go wrong with either of them. Can't go wrong with both of them. Can't go wrong with just one of them. Qualifying got a little funky too. They one of the groups that went out more or less had a dry track, and then another group went out and it started to kind of mist and spit a little bit, and they had to deal with a wet track, and then eventually started raining, and they just canceled all of round 2 entirely. So the field is kind of jumbled up a little bit. But Gibbs and Allmendinger are by far the two best road course racers in the series. So they're going to be high owned, but you can feel confident plugging either one or potentially both of them in. Allmendinger did talk a little bit about a potential problem with his car, and they might have to fix it and go to the rear at the start of the race. But even if he does, I'm not, he's still going to be high interest for us at that point. Maybe it's like, okay, maybe you try to find the driver who can lead the early portion of the laps. But, if a driver leads 7 laps and then wrecks out or has an issue and finishes, 20 spots further back, like it's going to take a while for you to get around the track. There's only 75 laps. So it's more just, okay, where are these guys going to finish? I don't really care too much about what they do during the race. Like, yeah, if I can get some of those, dominator points, sweet. But for me, it's just, where are these drivers going to finish, and trying to plug drivers into your line that you feel confident can finish top 10. Do you feel confident Gibbs can finish top 10? I do. Do you feel confident that, AJ, even if he starts in the back, can get towards the front and finish top 10? Yeah, I do too. So they're going to be my two top high interest by far. A lot higher than the next range would be Gregson and Allgaier. Now, Gregson wrecked in practice, so he's automatically going to the rear. He was able to take a qualifying time, but he's going to start deeper in the field. So just even though he starts deeper in the field, he's going to be scored from 11th. But same thing, I don't really have an issue going there. I think he's an interesting pivot off of maybe Gibbs or Allmendinger, just because we know they're going to carry all the ownership. Same argument for Allgaier. He's going to have the track position, doesn't really have to go to the rear of the field. When you think of who's been good on road courses, he's probably in the top 4, top 5, I would say. So I could see him being an interesting GPP play. Josh Berry doesn't have a ton of road course races experience, but again, we want to focus on place differential and finishing potential. And Josh Berry is a driver who gives you both of that. And he's in a JRM car too, and we know how fast JRM has been. So if you can get up to Josh Berry, I think that's an interesting play. I don't necessarily think he can win the race, but if he can finish, top 8, top 7, top 6, top 5, that'll be a good day for you. Mayer and Hill, unfortunately, they just start too high. Even if they lead you a handful of laps, they don't really give you that place differential upside that some of the other drivers around them do. Now, Brandon Jones, you're like, oh, wow, like he starts deeper in the field. Let's plug him in. And I still think he's an interesting play and still think he should be considered. But Jones will be the first driver to tell you he sucks at road courses, and his practice and qualifying times kind of reflect that as well. Even his pricing with DraftKings kind of reflects that. He's still a JGR, driver, so I don't mind, going to him, and he does give you some salary relief, but don't expect, to see him up front contending for the win. And of course, watch as soon as I say that, this will be, his breakout road course race, but just proceed with caution with Jones. Herbst is an interesting play. I don't know if a lot of people are probably just going to plug in Jones for the place differential and might skip right over Herbst, but Herbst is actually pretty good, relatively speaking, on road courses. We know his equipment is there, and he gives you a little bit of place differential upside too. So I like Herbst as potentially an interesting lower owned, GPP play for, hopefully a nice tournament option for you. Hemrick starts too close to the front. Like Sieg, he carries an expensive price tag, but he gives you a ton of place differential upside. Had top 15 speed, when they practice in the wet as well. So there's a lot of place differential upside there. Creed be another driver I like getting to, similar to Herbst, but Creed actually has that extra, speed, the extra skill, the extra ability, the extra equipment, whatever you want to call it, to actually get up front and can maybe even contend, for a race win. I don't necessarily think Herbst can contend for the win. Herbst is going to give you more place differential upside, but he's also, more expensive. Creed is, I think, a really interesting tournament play. He put down the fastest time in practice. He'll be fast. The only fear is that you just hope he doesn't, go too fast and run himself right off the track or get into an issue or something. Connor there is going to be medium interest, but I'd much rather go Creed just because Creed's kind of in this car on a daily basis. Connor's going to have the car, but I don't know. He's not a ton of upside there starting 8th. Castle, I'd rather just go to Andy Lally, I think. Andy Lally's in the Alpha Prime 44. I wish he started a little bit deeper to give you some place differential upside, but again, you want to just focus on, okay, do I think he can finish top 10 in this race? And I do. Probably towards the second half of it, and especially if it's raining. If it's raining, I think he can have an even a better day if it's dry. So if it's raining, I really like Lally. Alfredo doesn't give you any place differential upside. Like LeBay and Snyder quite a bit. Both of them are interesting drivers who normally we're not too high on, but anytime you get to a road course, they're going to draw interest from us. Moffitt, probably a little bit more of a aggressive tournament play. I don't think a lot of people are going to get to him. I could see him, having a good day. It's crazy, he's kind of just faded off the radar. We used to always talk about him, especially in the truck series, was when he was with GMS, but um, haven't really been getting him too much in the Xfinity series. Jade Buford really needs to have a good race for his NASCAR career. Starts fifth, so it's great, for him. But for DFS purposes, that's too high for us. Jeb Burton looks like a relatively safe place differential play. I don't mind going there. Same with Clements. I'd probably rather go Burton over Clements. Brown would probably be my favorite option, but he's probably also going to be the highest owned, of those three that we just talked about. So if you're able to pivot off Brown and get to a Burton or Clements, I think that's a good way to get different. But we're still going to have, quite a bit of ownership to Brandon Brown. Parker Chase, wish he started a little bit further deeper in the field, kind of the same as Andy Lally. I think Lally is a much better road course racer, and I think Lally has a much better chance of actually finishing, towards kind of that top 10, top 12. But I could see Parker Chase, running around where he starts, and maybe if things get crazy, advance his way forward. But I think you should just take the place differential here and drop down to Yaley or, Mason in the 91, even Galding. Like you don't want to ignore those place differential plays, and you kind of want to take more risks with guys starting closer to the front who actually, are known to have the cars and the equipment and the ability to finish there. Not that, Parker Chase couldn't, and he kind of starts in the middle of the field anyways, but it's hard to plug Parker Chase in when you look at the place differential upside that Brandon Brown has, or JJ Yaley has, or even some of the cheaper plays in the 6K range. Not really going to get to Scott Heckert. I think he just starts a little bit too high, especially in the equipment that he's in. It's going to be hard for him to finish any higher than that. Curry and Parsons are relatively safer, kind of place differential punt plays. Gaskell, good road course guy, just starts too close to the front. Joe Graff doesn't seem like a good play, but if this race gets stupid and he stays on the track, he could just become a pure place different or attrition play. I don't mind Spencer though. He's in the same equipment that Joe Graff's in, but Spencer actually was able to put together some good practice times, and you can see his qualifying time kind of reflects that as well. A little riskier, especially if you're looking for a punt play that starts a little bit closer towards the front of the field. But I like his ability to, kind of finish around 20th or so. And then Darren in the 38 car, good equipment. He does have some road course experience in the sports car series. He was 15th in practice. So, that's promising. That's encouraging, especially looking at the car that he's in. So if you need a punt play this deep, I think Spencer and Darren are your guys. Maybe Curry and Parsons too, if you can afford them. But I like kind of a mix of place differential and finishing potential. So if this race is raining, I think this race is going to get very chaotic. There's every lap, there will be a car going off, getting stuck, spinning around, drivers running each other off the road. So it's going to be really chaotic DFS day. I think the slate's going to go back and forth, quite a bit, but should be fun to watch from a fan perspective. So excited for Saturday. Two very different types of racing that we'll see for the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. But if this has been helpful in any way, whether it's a series or this video, another video that we did, just hitting the like button, subscribe is really all that we ask. Any questions, hit us up on Twitter. It's at FastCarsFM. We'll post a spreadsheet over there. You can also drop some comments in the comments or questions in the comments below on this video. But yeah, best of luck. Once the Cup Series is done with their qualifying, we'll get a video recorded and posted for everybody. And yeah, have a good weekend, everybody.